Imagine if the vast, shimmering expanse we know as the Sahara Desert, a landscape synonymous with an almost absolute desolation, was not always a dominion of relentless sand and rock. Imagine if, far removed from the image of towering dunes and searing windswept plains, this immense and silent sea of dust once cradled not just life, but civilizations. For as long as humanity has gazed upon maps, the Sahara has stood as the ultimate boundary, a colossal void on the canvas of our world, a seemingly impenetrable barrier that dictated migration, shaped cultures, and enforced isolation. It is the very definition of barren, an arid realm where water is a myth and permanent settlement seems an act of defiance against nature itself. Today, the Sahara stretches across a continent, covering an area larger than many nations combined. It is a world unto itself, a brutal master to those who dare to cross it. Its dunes, sculpted by millennia of relentless wind, rise like frozen waves to heights that dwarf cathedrals. The sun, an unblinking eye in a sky of sapphire, bakes the earth to a crucible, driving away all but the most tenacious forms of life. Here, rivers are ghost stories, their ancient beds visible only from orbit, silent testimonials to a forgotten age. This is the Sahara we perceive, the undisputed monarch of all deserts, a monument to the planet's immense, indifferent power, a place where history seems to wither and disappear, leaving no trace. It is, to our modern eyes, a canvas of endless, unchanging emptiness, a tomb for time. Yet this perception, deeply ingrained and universally accepted, may only be a recent chapter in a story spanning millions of years. What if this formidable wasteland, this grand amphitheater of silence, holds secrets far more profound than we have ever dared to consider? What if, beneath its golden shroud, layers of history lie buried, not merely of fleeting hunter-gatherer camps or isolated nomadic groups, but of sophisticated societies, of communities that built, innovated, and thrived in a landscape utterly unrecognizable to us today? Long before our recorded histories began to etch themselves onto stone and papyrus, long before the empires of Mesopotamia or the pharaohs of Egypt laid their foundations, another world may have pulsed with life, vibrated with human endeavor, and witnessed the rise and fall of societies we have long forgotten. This radical notion compels us to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about the origins of civilization, about where and when humanity first began to weave the intricate tapestry of culture, technology, and settled life. If the Sahara was once a green and fertile land, capable of sustaining complex populations, then our timeline for human advancement, our understanding of the cradle of civilization, might be fundamentally incomplete. The accepted narrative often places the genesis of agriculture and urban centers in the fertile crescents of the Middle East, or along the great rivers of Asia. But what if the true heart of early human innovation, the genesis of advanced thought and societal structure, lay not in these familiar lands, but deep within the very continent we often overlook for its deep prehistory, Africa, and specifically within the now desolate expanse of the Sahara? The thought itself sparks a profound shift in perspective, moving from a static image of a barren land to a dynamic vision of ancient possibility. It challenges us to imagine cities nurtured by vast lakes, settlements sustained by sprawling river networks, and populations that flourished amidst lush grasslands and verdant forests, where today only sand reigns supreme. Such a discovery would not merely add a new footnote to history, it would necessitate the rewriting of entire chapters, perhaps even the preface to the story of humanity. Our understanding of migration patterns, technological diffusion, and the very concept of advanced civilization itself would be thrown into a vortex of re-evaluation. This is the haunting question that begins to emerge from the Sahara's vastness. What if its parched landscape conceals not just geological memory, but the echoes of human ambition and ingenuity on a scale previously unimagined, the contrast is stark, almost breathtaking. On one hand, the brutal, unyielding reality of the present desert, a place where survival is a daily battle. On the other, the spectral vision of a past filled with life, with laughter, with the intricate workings of a society that might have looked to the same stars as we do, but from a vastly different Earth. The sheer scale of the Sahara, its immense reach and profound silence, only deepens the mystery. It is a canvas so vast that it seems to absorb all stories, to erase all imprints, leaving only the endless, undifferentiated grains of sand. Yet, it is precisely this immensity, this apparent emptiness that makes the possibility so compelling. How much could be hidden beneath such an expanse? How many millennia of human endeavor, how many generations of innovation could lie entombed within its ancient soils, protected by layers of accumulated dust and forgotten by time? This is not a tale of isolated discoveries, of scattered artifacts pointing to nomadic existence. This is an invitation to consider the revolutionary notion of entire societies, perhaps even empires, that once navigated green landscapes, harnessed abundant water, and developed unique adaptations to a world that was once teeming with life. Their architecture, their social structures, their knowledge, all shaped by conditions unimaginable in the present Sahara. And if such societies existed, how did they grapple with the colossal environmental shifts that eventually turned their verdant homeland into the unforgiving desert we see today? The Sahara becomes, in this light, not merely a geographical feature, but a profound enigma, a cosmic question mark etched into the face of our planet. It asks us to confront the limits of our historical knowledge, to acknowledge that the most significant chapters of human evolution might still lie unread, waiting beneath the vastness of its silent dunes. The wonder here is not just about what we might find, but about the very act of reimagining our planet's past, of daring to look beyond the obvious, the established, the conventional. We are drawn to this possibility not by wishful thinking alone, but by a growing body of scientific inquiry that hints at a dramatically different past for this seemingly unchanging land. The idea that this arid giant was once a fertile region, a blue heart pulsing within Africa, fundamentally alters the backdrop against which human history unfolded. It implies a landscape vibrant with ecosystems, a haven for flora and fauna, and crucially, an environment capable of sustaining human populations on an entirely different scale than is currently understood. This initial sense of mystery is intertwined with a profound melancholy. If civilizations did indeed flourish here, what became of them? Did they simply fade with the drying rivers, their populations scattering to more hospitable lands? Or did they leave behind legacies, structures, technologies that are merely awaiting rediscovery beneath the immense blanket of sand? The Sahara, in its present desolation, serves as a poignant reminder of nature's relentless power, a stark lesson in the impermanence of even the most established civilizations. But it also presents a tantalizing challenge to peel back the layers of time, to listen for the faint whispers of a vibrant past, and to uncover a forgotten chapter in the story of humanity, written in a landscape that has long guarded its secrets. The journey into the Sahara's forgotten heart is a journey into the deepest questions of our own origins, a quest to understand if our history is not just earthbound, but etched into the very sands of time itself. From the silent sands a different truth emerges, one whispered not by myth, but by the undeniable language of the earth itself. While the Sahara today stands as the world's largest hot desert, its present desolation obscures a past so profoundly different it reshapes our understanding of ancient Africa. For what we now perceive as an endless, lifeless expanse was not always so. Beneath the relentless sun and shifting dunes lies an indelible record of verdant plains, flowing rivers, and immense freshwater seas. This is the story science has begun to unearth. The tale of the Green Sahara, a vibrant heart pulsing at the center of a continent, not once, but many times. The evidence for these dramatic transformations is etched into the very fabric of the landscape and hidden within the planet's ancient memory. Scientists, using a combination of paleoclimatic research, geological surveys, and advanced imaging techniques, have pieced together a compelling narrative of Africa's cyclical past. Deep within the ocean floor, sediment cores drilled off the coast of West Africa serve as silent archives. Each layer tells a story, revealing centuries of accumulated dust and organic matter blown from the continent. During periods of aridity, these cores show thick deposits of wind-blown sand. But interspersed with these layers are startlingly different strata, fine silts and organic materials rich with the fossilized pollen of grasses, trees, and wetland plants. These floral fingerprints, preserved for millennia, paint a vivid picture of a Sahara teeming with life, a stark contrast to its modern counterpart. This wasn't merely isolated patches of green, but a widespread ecological shift, turning thousands of miles of desert into savannas and forests. Accompanying the fossilized plant life are the remnants of creatures that would be unthinkable in today's Sahara. Paleontologists have uncovered bones and fossil impressions of crocodiles, hippopotamuses, giraffes, elephants, and a diverse array of antelope and other grazing animals. These are not species that could survive a few isolated oases. They demand extensive freshwater sources, vast grasslands for forage, and stable, humid climates. Their presence acts as a powerful biological thermometer, confirming that the Sahara was once a mosaic of savannas, woodlands, and extensive wetlands capable of sustaining complex ecosystems. The sheer abundance of these fossils across the region underscores the prolonged periods of habitability, suggesting a continuity of life stretching for thousands of years during each Green Sahara phase. Beyond the biological evidence, hydrogeological data offers a monumental confirmation of this transformed landscape. Today, satellite imagery, particularly radar that can penetrate dry sand, has revealed ghosts of a forgotten past. The intricate, sprawling networks of ancient river systems now buried beneath the dunes. These are not minor streams, but vast arteries that once crisscrossed the entire region, fed by a significantly intensified African monsoon. Some of these paleo-rivers, like the infamous Tamanrasset River, are estimated to have been hundreds of miles long and several miles wide, rivaling the Nile in scale and discharge. Their dried-up beds, visible from orbit, demonstrate how water once dominated the Saharan interior, carving landscapes and channeling life-giving moisture through what is now barren rock and sand. But the Green Sahara was not merely a land of rivers, it was also a realm of megalakes, vast inland seas that dwarf modern bodies of water. Foremost among these was Lake Megachad, a colossal freshwater expanse that at its peak covered an area larger than the Caspian Sea, stretching across parts of modern-day Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and Cameroon. This immense lake was not an ephemeral pond, but a stable, deep body of water evidenced by its ancient shorelines, sediment deposits, and the aquatic fossils found within its former basin. Similarly, countless other smaller paleolakes dotted the landscape, turning vast depressions into vibrant oases. These lakes would have provided critical fresh water, supported diverse aquatic and terrestrial life, and created fertile margins ideal for human habitation. Their scale speaks volumes about the sheer volume of rainfall that must have nourished the Sahara during these humid periods. And even when surface waters receded, the legacy of the Green Sahara persisted, hidden deep beneath the surface. Today, the Sahara sits atop one of the world's largest deep underground aquifer systems, holding colossal reserves of fossil water ancient rainfall trapped in subterranean rock formations for thousands, even millions of years. These vast aquifers, like the Nubian sandstone aquifer system, are remnants of those wet epochs, slow-draining reservoirs that still feed modern oases and sustain communities in some of the most arid parts of the desert. Their existence serves as a profound hydrogeological echo of a time when the heavens opened over the Sahara, saturating the ground to depths that ensured a long-term water supply for both surface ecosystems and potentially any intelligent inhabitants. So, what climatic mechanisms were powerful enough to orchestrate such a profound transformation, turning desert into fertile land and back again? The answer lies in the subtle yet powerful dance of our planet in space. Earth's orbital shifts, often referred to as Milankovitch cycles. These are not sudden catastrophic events, but predictable, long-term variations in Earth's orbit and axial tilt that periodically alter how much solar radiation or insolation reaches different parts of the planet. Specifically, a critical factor for the Green Sahara was the cyclical change in the obliquity of Earth's axis, the tilt of our planet. Every approximately 23,000 years, this tilt shifts, influencing the intensity of the seasons. During periods when the Northern Hemisphere received greater summer insolation due to a more pronounced axial tilt and orbital position, a powerful feedback loop was initiated. This increased heating intensified the African monsoon, drawing vast amounts of moisture-laden air from the Atlantic Ocean deep into the continental interior. Instead of today's limited coastal rainfall, these super monsoons carried precipitation far south into the Sahara, turning arid landscapes into lush, well-watered regions. The shift wasn't minor. It was a wholesale geographical redirection of weather patterns, fundamentally altering atmospheric circulation across North Africa. These shifts were not isolated incidents but recurring phenomena, transforming the Sahara from arid to humid and back again over vast spans of geological time. The most recent major African humid period occurred roughly between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago, a span of 5 millennia, a duration longer than the entire recorded history of human civilization. Before that, similar green phases unfolded approximately 120,000 years ago, and even further back, suggesting a grand, pulsating rhythm to the continent's climate. Each green phase provided a window of opportunity, a period of sustained environmental stability and abundant resources, making it a powerful magnet for life. Taken together, these scientific insights converge to paint a picture of a radically different past for the Sahara. It was a place where blue water covered the surface, where clouds passed through a thicker, warmer sky, and where biodiversity thrived across an immense interior. The Green Sahara was not a fleeting mirage, but a geological reality, a testament to the planet's capacity for dramatic ecological shifts. The cumulative evidence from sediment cores, fossil records, and hydrological mapping makes it undeniable. This was a fertile land, a heartland of Africa, beating with life for thousands of years at a time. This profound understanding of the Sahara's true history forces us to confront a vital question. If such immense regions of Africa were repeatedly transformed into a cradle of life, what traces of that life, particularly human life, might it have left behind? What echoes in stone might speak of societies that rose and fell with the shifting climates, their existence now buried, waiting to be rediscovered? The transformation of the Sahara from a parched expanse to a fertile realm is a monumental story told by the shifting sands and ancient riverbeds. Yet, the true depth of this narrative emerges not just from geology or climate, but from the echoes left by those who lived within these transient green landscapes. If the Sahara was indeed a blue heart pulsating with life, then it was also a stage for human history, one far richer and more complex than its present silence suggests. It is within the remnants of their existence that we begin to find the true scale of what might have been. For generations, Explorers and archaeologists have ventured into the Sahara, not only to chart its dunes but to unearth its secrets. And what they have found, etched into the very fabric of the landscape, speaks of a profound human presence during these ancient, humid periods. Across vast stretches of what is now barren rock, thousands of rock art sites stand as a vibrant testament to an astonishingly diverse ecosystem and the people who thrived within it. These are not isolated drawings. They are immense galleries spanning thousands of years, painted and carved by countless hands. From the towering cliffs of the Tassili Naja to the remote Enedi Plateau, the stone itself becomes a canvas,
revealing a world almost unimaginable today. Imagine seeing herds of giraffes,
their long necks reaching for acacia leaves, alongside powerful elephants, rhinoceroses and hippopotamuses, creatures that require abundant water and lush vegetation. Picture graceful antelopes, ostriches and even crocodiles lurking in once flowing rivers.
These aren't fantastical beasts.
They are meticulous observations of an environment brimming with life, captured with an art history that conveys both reverence and intimate knowledge. The sheer number of these depictions and their widespread distribution paints a compelling picture of a Sahara that was not merely dotted with oases, but fundamentally fertile, capable of sustaining massive populations of wildlife. These images are more than just art. They are a living archive, a direct window into the ecological past of a continent. Alongside the animal life, the rock art also offers a glimpse into the human societies that interacted with this abundance. We see figures engaged in daily life, hunting with bows and arrows, gathering plants, dancing in ceremonies and herding cattle. The transition from purely hunter-gatherer scenes to those featuring domesticated animals is particularly striking, reflecting a pivotal moment in human development, when the earliest forms of pastoralism began to take root in this once verdant land. These are not the desperate struggles of people clinging to existence in a desert fringe. They are the confident portrayals of communities deeply connected to their environment, enjoying a prosperity allowed by a benevolent climate. This artistic legacy challenges our conventional timelines, pushing back the evidence of complex human interaction with their environment far earlier and across a much wider geographical expanse than previously assumed. Beyond the vibrant frescoes, tangible traces of these early human settlements lie scattered across the former Green Sahara. Archaeologists have unearthed tools, pottery shards, and the remnants of hearths, testifying to continuous occupation during the humid phases. These artifacts are not crude or rudimentary. They exhibit sophisticated tool-making traditions, demonstrating an advanced understanding of materials and techniques. Stone axes, finely crafted arrowheads, and intricate fishing hooks speak of specialized skills adapted to a variety of tasks, from processing game to navigating waterways. The presence of grinding stones further indicates the processing of wild grains, hinting at a broad and sustainable dietary base that supported these communities. These settlement traces are
often found clustered along the ancient
riverbeds and lake shores that once crisscrossed the Sahara. The sheer density of these findings, spanning multiple millennia, indicates not just transient visits but long-term occupation. These were places where communities established themselves, raised families, and developed distinct cultural practices. The consistency of these archaeological signatures across vast regions suggests a connected network of human activity, thriving not in isolation, but as part of a flourishing ecosystem. What emerges from these scattered remains is a picture of resilience and ingenuity, of human groups intimately adapted to the rhythms of a changing, yet often generous, Sahara. They were building lives, developing technologies, and laying the foundations for more complex societal structures, all within a landscape that we now perceive as utterly hostile. Yet, among these well-documented archaeological finds, some discoveries stand apart, raising questions that push beyond the conventional understanding of early human capabilities. These are the anomalous or unusually complex megalithic structures that appear in unexpected places, challenging the very definition of what hunter-gatherer or early pastoralist societies were capable of. Perhaps the most compelling example of this unexpected sophistication is found at Nabta Playa, in the Nubian desert of southern Egypt. Here, long before the pyramids of Giza and millennia before Stonehenge, a remarkably intricate astronomical complex was constructed by people whom history has largely overlooked. Nabta Playa is not merely a collection of standing stones. It is a meticulously arranged calendar circle aligned with the summer solstice and other celestial events. Its megaliths, some weighing several tons, were transported and erected with purposeful precision, forming a cosmic clock that tracked the heavens. This required not only an advanced understanding of astronomy, but also a high degree of organized labor, mathematical knowledge, and social cohesion. It implies a society capable of planning, coordinating, and executing large-scale projects over extended periods, skills often attributed only to much later, supposedly more advanced civilizations. The very existence of Nabta Playa forces us to reconsider the timeline for the emergence of sophisticated scientific thought and complex societal organization. It suggests that these early Saharan communities were not merely surviving, they were observing, calculating, and building monuments that encoded their knowledge of the cosmos. What could have motivated such an undertaking? Perhaps the precise tracking of the seasons was vital for their survival, signaling the arrival of the life-giving monsoons that periodically transformed the desert. Or perhaps it reflects a deeper spiritual connection to the celestial sphere, a testament to early philosophical and religious thought. Whatever the motivation, Nabta Playa stands as an undeniable marker of an intelligence and complexity that defies simple categorization. It is a whispered challenge from the past, reminding us that our assumptions about early humanity might be far too narrow. It makes us ask, if such complex structures could arise in this remote corner of the Green Sahara, what else might have been achieved across its immense expanse over the vast stretches of time it offered? And this is where the question truly deepens. We have established that the Green Sahara was a recurring phenomenon, a habitable period spanning millions of years, not just a few isolated millennia. The archaeological evidence we possess, as compelling as it is, represents only tiny pinpricks of discovery in an ocean of sand and time. The rock art, the scattered tools, the megalithic circles, these are fragments. They hint at populations, cultures, and knowledge systems, but do they truly capture the full scope of human activity that flourished across these immense temporal and geographical scales? Consider the sheer scale. The Sahara Desert today covers an area comparable to the entire United States. During the Green Sahara phases, much of this vast region was lush. Human habitation would have extended across territories unimaginable for any single archaeological survey to cover thoroughly. And the time frames involved a staggering, multiple humid periods, each lasting thousands of years, separated by equally long periods of aridity. What impact did these repeated cycles of greening and desertification have on human development? Did societies rise and fall, adapt and migrate, leaving behind layers of history that are now buried under hundreds of meters of sand? Our current archaeological methodologies, while precise, are inherently limited. They often rely on surface finds or shallow excavations, constrained by the overwhelming challenges of working in such an unforgiving environment. We are, in essence, searching for individual grains of sand in a vast desert, hoping they reveal a beach. The evidence we have is powerful enough to overturn the notion of the Sahara as an eternal wasteland, but it may only be scratching the surface of what once existed. If societies became truly sophisticated, if they built structures with durable materials, if they managed water on a grand scale, or if they retreated underground to survive the onset of desertification, then their traces would be extraordinarily difficult to find using conventional methods. The accepted narrative of human civilization often places its origins in the Fertile Crescent, or along specific river valleys,
relatively recently in human history.
But if the Green Sahara hosted not just hunter-gatherers and early pastoralists, but societies that were organized enough to construct astronomical calendars and to thrive for countless generations across such an enormous territory, then the scale of our conventional understanding might be fundamentally flawed. It forces us to confront the possibility that the Sahara, far from being a blank space in human history, was a crucible of innovation, a forgotten heartland where human ingenuity took unexpected and perhaps unprecedented turns. The question is not just if people lived there, but what they achieved.
And how much of that achievement remains hidden beneath the sands?
Waiting to redefine everything we thought we knew about our earliest origins. This profound uncertainty sets the stage for a new kind of exploration, one that moves beyond the surface and seeks to penetrate the veil of sand itself. The Sahara, in its present silence, appears to yield little, yet the scattered rock art and the enigmatic stones of Nabta Playa have offered tantalizing glimpses, suggesting a deeper, more profound story than previously conceived. They whisper of a time when life thrived, when organized communities may have left their mark upon a land now desolate. But the vastness of this former green world and the sheer antiquity of its habitable phases demand more than surface observations. To truly pierce the veil of sand, to uncover the sprawling narratives written in the Saharan earth, we need a new kind of vision. A vision that sees beyond the immediate, past the endless dunes and weathered plateaus, deep into the hidden strata of time. This new vision comes from technology, from tools that transform the invisible into the discernible. Satellite imagery, LiDAR, and aerial photography are our first set of eyes in this monumental quest, allowing us to scan immense tracts of land that would be impossible to traverse or survey by conventional means. Imagine soaring thousands of feet above the sweeping emptiness, not just seeing the desert as it is today, but looking for subtle anomalies, ghosts of a landscape long past. Satellite imagery, a ubiquitous tool in modern mapping, becomes a forensic instrument when applied to the Sahara. By analyzing variations in soil moisture, subtle changes in vegetation that cling to buried water sources, or minute topographical differences, researchers can discern patterns that escape the naked eye. What appears as undifferentiated sand from the ground can, from orbit, resolve into faint lines, circular depressions, or angular shifts that suggest something other than pure natural formation. These images, often captured at multiple wavelengths, can highlight features just beneath a thin veneer of sand, revealing ancient riverbeds more clearly, or showing how sediment has settled in ways that hint at past human intervention. It's like peeling back a layer of time, where the desert itself, in its shifting contours, offers clues to what lies beneath. LiDAR, or light detection and ranging, takes this remote sensing to an even more precise level. It involves beaming billions of laser pulses down to the surface, measuring the time it takes for each pulse to return. This creates an extraordinarily detailed 3D map of the terrain, so fine-grained that it can effectively strip away obscuring foliage, or, in the case of the Sahara, the shifting mantle of sand. LiDAR can detect subtle changes in elevation, even those as slight as a few centimeters, revealing ancient earthworks, eroded pathways, or the faintest outlines of long-abandoned structures that have been almost completely swallowed by the desert. It turns the landscape into a digital canvas, allowing us to trace the subtle scars of history that wind and sand have tried, but failed to entirely erase aerial photography. Though older, still offers a crucial perspective. High-resolution images taken from aircraft can capture patterns that only become clear from a bird's-eye view. They can show how ancient trackways, barely visible on the ground, once crisscrossed the landscape, connecting distant oases or past settlements. They might reveal geometric alignments in patterns of erosion or vegetation that hint at organized human activity, an underlying order to the seemingly chaotic desert. These methods, whether from orbit or the sky, give us a macro perspective, allowing us to identify areas of interest across vast distances, narrowing down the colossal search for what may lie hidden. They are our first reconnaissance, mapping the battlefield where the sand has waged its silent war against history. But to truly delve deeper, to penetrate the Earth itself and confirm the whispers of these surface anomalies, we turn to an even more potent technology, ground-penetrating radar, or GPR. If satellite imagery and LiDAR are like our wide-angle lens, then GPR is our X-ray vision capable of peering into the subterranean world. This remarkable tool sends electromagnetic pulses into the ground. When these waves encounter different materials or structures, a buried wall, a compacted pathway, a filled-in ditch, or even a change in soil density, they reflect back to the surface. By analyzing these reflections, scientists can create a detailed cross-sectional image of what lies beneath, effectively drawing a map of the hidden landscape without turning a single shovelful of earth. GPR is particularly powerful because it doesn't just show us what's on the surface, it shows us what's beneath it. Imagine an ancient city buried by millennia of sand and sediment. From above, it's merely a flat expanse. But with GPR, patterns emerge. Straight lines where walls once stood, rectangular outlines of rooms, circular depressions that suggest wells or cisterns. It can reveal the stratigraphic layers of time, distinguishing between natural geological deposits and layers that suggest human occupation. The depth and clarity of these images vary with soil type and moisture, but in the dry, relatively uniform sands of the Sahara, GPR can be remarkably effective, penetrating many meters down to unveil long-lost secrets. It allows us to visualize the foundations of forgotten societies, to see the skeletal remains of structures that once defined a vibrant civilization. The specific types of discoveries these technologies are beginning to reveal are profound. Across various regions of the Sahara, faint lines visible in satellite images hint at ancient pathways, not just animal trails but deliberate routes, perhaps paved or frequently used, connecting once habitable zones. These are not random meanderings. They often follow logical contours, linking areas that would have been strategic for resources or trade during the Green Sahara periods. Their scale suggests organized movement across large distances, a network indicative of complex societies. These pathways could be the ghost roads of an ancient civilization stretching across a continent that now seems impassable. Even more compelling are the signatures of potential large-scale hydrological works. We know from earlier insights that the Green Sahara was crisscrossed by vast rivers and peppered with mega-lakes. But advanced remote sensing is starting to suggest that ancient inhabitants may have actively managed these precious water resources. LiDAR and GPR surveys have hinted at long, linear depressions consistent with man-made canals designed to divert water from ancient rivers to agricultural areas or settlements. They reveal subterranean reservoirs meticulously crafted to store water, or intricate systems of underground tunnels designed to capture and channel precious moisture from aquifers to the surface, a testament to ingenuity in a land that was already beginning to feel the effects of a changing climate. These are not just signs of settlement. They are signs of advanced engineering, a deep understanding of hydrogeology, and the kind of collective effort that defines an organized society. Perhaps the most breathtaking possibilities come from geometric patterns and extensive earthworks. In some areas, satellite imagery has revealed faint, regular grids or rectangular outlines, barely discernible under the sand, that strongly suggest the foundations of buried cities or extensive settlements. These are not natural rock formations which tend to be chaotic or follow geological fault lines. Instead, they imply a deliberate, ordered layout reminiscent of ancient urban planning. GPR, when deployed in these locations, can then provide the crucial subsurface confirmation, revealing actual buried walls, streets, or the compacted floors of structures. These patterns hint at populations large enough, and organized enough to construct towns or even cities, radically altering our perception of early human habitation in Africa. Beyond urban grids, these technologies are also uncovering extensive earthworks. These might be defensive walls surrounding settlements, or massive terracing systems used for agriculture or water management on a scale previously unimagined. They could be ceremonial complexes, much larger and more intricate than anything yet attributed to the early Saharan peoples, suggesting a spiritual or social complexity that goes far beyond simple hunter-gatherer camps. The mere presence of such large-scale deliberate modifications of the landscape speaks volumes about the societal structure, labor organization, and technological capabilities of these lost cultures. It is the signature of societies that actively shaped their world, leaving an indelible mark that only our modern tools can now begin to uncover. Yet, this revolutionary vision is not without its inherent challenges and interpretive difficulties. The Sahara is a land of immense geological diversity, where natural processes can mimic artificial forms with uncanny precision. Wind erosion can carve rocks into sharp, geometric shapes, creating what appear to be walls or pillars. Sedimentation from ancient floods, now buried, can form compacted layers that reflect GPS signals in ways that could be mistaken for man-made floors or foundations. Natural geological fractures can create linear patterns that from a distance resemble ancient roads or canal systems. The very forces that shaped the Saharan landscape over eons have also created a natural canvas full of deceptive illusions. Distinguishing between a naturally formed mesa and a collapsed pyramid, between a wind-scoured ridge and a buried wall, requires immense expertise and a healthy dose of scientific skepticism. The human eye, as seen in the debate over anomalies on other planets, is predisposed to seeing patterns, to finding order even in chaos. This phenomenon, known as pareidolia, is a constant interpretative challenge. What one researcher sees as a clear sign of an ancient structure, another sees as a trick of light, shadow, or geology. The immense scale of the Sahara means that by sheer chance, some natural formations will inevitably resemble artificial ones, adding layers of complexity to the interpretation of remote sensing data. Moreover, the sheer span of time involved presents an enormous hurdle. We are searching for traces that could be hundreds of thousands or even millions of years old. Erosion from wind and sand, combined with periods of significant climatic change, would have relentlessly degraded any surface structures. Even those buried deep might have been fragmented by seismic activity, dissolved by ancient groundwaters, or simply diffused into the surrounding soil, making their detection and identification exceedingly difficult. The challenge lies not just in finding something, but in proving, beyond reasonable doubt, that what we find is undeniably artificial, a product of intelligent design, rather than the intricate work of nature or the random chance of geology. Despite these difficulties, the potential rewards are too great to ignore. These advanced technologies are transforming our understanding of the Sahara, turning it from a static monument to desolation into an active archaeological site on a continental scale. They are shifting the paradigm, allowing us to ask questions that were previously unanswerable, to probe depths that were once impenetrable. The desert, once a blank space on the map of human history, is slowly beginning to yield its secrets. And as the data accumulates, as the faint lines and subterranean echoes grow clearer, a new and astonishing picture of ancient Africa begins to emerge, a world shaped not just by nature, but by the hands of forgotten civilizations. This leads us to consider the very nature of these lost societies, their incredible resilience, and ultimately, their mysterious disappearance as the desert claimed its final victory. The sophisticated technologies of revelation, peering beneath the Sahara's skin, have begun to paint a picture of complexity, geometric patterns, subtle alignments, and the faint whispers of buried pathways emerge from the data, challenging our assumptions about what truly lies hidden. But if these intriguing echoes are indeed the work of intelligent hands, then a profound question arises. What force could have swept away such a world? What event transformed a flourishing landscape capable of sustaining advanced societies into the immense, silent desert we know today? This brings us to the most defining event in the Sahara's deep history, the Great Desertification. It was not a gentle fade, but a dramatic, irreversible climate shift, a planetary cataclysm that fundamentally reshaped a continent. For millennia, the Sahara had cycled between periods of lush vitality and arid dormancy, driven by the subtle wobbles in Earth's orbit that influenced the African monsoon. But around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, that delicate balance tipped. The monsoon rains, which had nourished vast lakes and sprawling river systems, began to falter, then retreated with alarming speed. This was not merely a dry spell. It was an ecological collapse, an environmental apocalypse unfolding over centuries, perhaps even decades, in its most critical phases. The once verdant grasslands shriveled. Mighty rivers carving pathways through fertile plains slowed to trickles and then became dry beds. The vast inland seas, larger than many modern countries, receded and vanished, leaving behind nothing but salt flats and dust. The very air changed, growing drier, hotter, and increasingly laden with fine sand carried by relentless winds. The transformation was absolute, leaving an indelible scar on the planet's surface that persists to this day. What was once a land of life became, with chilling finality, a land of desolation. The climatic threshold was crossed, swiftly and brutally. Vegetation cover once holding the soil in place withered away, exposing the bare earth to the sun and wind. This exposed soil, lacking moisture and organic matter, quickly turned to sand. The feedback loop was relentless. Less vegetation meant more heat absorption, less moisture in the air, fewer clouds, and even less rain. The Sahara began to create its own arid climate, a self-perpetuating cycle of desiccation. The blue heart of Africa turned to gold, then to an endless expanse of shimmering, unforgiving brown. For any complex societies thriving in this once generous landscape, this wasn't merely a challenge. It was an existential threat of unimaginable proportions. How does a civilization survive when its very foundation, water, food, and a stable climate, is ripped away with such ferocity? What strategies could they have employed to resist the relentless march of the sands, a force of nature far beyond their control? This leads us to consider the ingenious, desperate measures these lost empires might have taken, a struggle against the inevitable. Did they simply vanish, their cities swallowed by the dunes, their histories erased by the wind? Or did fragments of their ingenuity endure, adapting to a new, hostile world in ways we can only begin to comprehend? One hypothesis suggests a profound retreat, a desperate migration from the surface world into the earth itself. The Sahara, as we have learned, holds immense underground aquifers, vast ancient reservoirs of fossil water. These subterranean lakes and rivers, shielded from the sun's scorching gaze, could have been the ultimate lifeline for societies facing imminent collapse. Imagine a people witnessing their rivers dry and their fertile lands turn to dust, systematically moving their entire civilization underground. Their cities, once open to the sun and sky, might have transformed into subterranean marvels, vast networks of tunnels, cavernous chambers, and sprawling, hidden oases powered by deep wells tapping into these ancient water sources. Such an undertaking would have demanded unprecedented engineering, a mastery of geology and hydrology on a scale we rarely attribute to ancient peoples. They would have needed to create stable, habitable environments far from the scorching, radiating surface. Their architectural adaptations would have been utterly unique, shaped by the imperatives of conservation, protection, and endurance. Instead of reaching for the sky, these societies would have delved deeper into the earth. Structures might have been carved directly from solid rock, meticulously designed to maintain stable temperatures and humidity, effectively buffering against the extremes of the surface.
Light, a precious commodity underground.
Would have been ingeniously channeled from the surface through complex systems of mirrors, fiber optics fashioned from natural minerals or deep shafts, or perhaps generated by unknown forms of bioluminescence or captured geothermal energy. Air circulation, waste management, and sustainable food production would have become central to their survival, pushing the boundaries of their technology and ingenuity in ways unimaginable to us. They would have been architects of the subterranean, masters of creating life where none seemed possible. Another possibility is a fragmentation, a splintering of once grand societies into smaller, isolated communities clinging to the last vestiges of habitability. As the Sahara dried, pockets of life would have persisted around shrinking oases, fed by diminishing underground springs or seasonal rainfall that still pierced the encroaching aridity. These oases could have become the last strongholds, mini-civilizations, dedicated to the intense preservation of their knowledge, their culture, and their very existence. Such societies would have been defined by extreme resource management, strict social structures ensuring communal survival, and perhaps a deep spiritual reverence for water itself, venerating it as the ultimate life-giver in a world consumed by thirst. Their technologies would have revolved around advanced water harvesting, desalination, and methods of sustaining agriculture in highly controlled, enclosed environments, perhaps pioneering early forms of hydroponics or aeroponics to maximize output in limited spaces. They would have become specialists in resilience, masters of making the most of a dying world. But what if adaptation was not enough? What if the desertification was too rapid, too total, leaving no room for retreat or resilience? It is entirely possible that many, if not all, of these potential civilizations simply succumbed to the relentless march of the sands. Their populations would have dwindled, their social structures collapsed under the immense strain of starvation and thirst, their monumental works buried by the relentless dunes until nothing remained but echoes in the geological record. Their sophisticated water systems, once sources of life, became empty conduits, their underground cities silent tombs. The Sahara, in this grim scenario, would be a vast planetary-scale graveyard, hiding the untold stories of entire peoples lost to time and an unforgiving climate, their existence swallowed by an environmental cataclysm. If these lost societies truly existed, what kind of empires might they have been? The remote sensing data, hinting at organized layouts, geometric patterns, and extensive hydrological works beneath the sands, suggests a level of planning and coordination far beyond simple tribal encampments. This implies a significant degree of social complexity and centralized authority. Their water management technologies, necessitated by a drying climate, might have been astonishingly advanced, perhaps even more sophisticated than those developed by later historical empires like the Romans or the Persians. Imagine vast subterranean aqueduct networks extending for hundreds of kilometers, feeding hidden reservoirs and supporting sprawling underground farms. Their understanding of geology, atmospheric conditions, and hydrology would have been paramount, driving scientific and technological innovation born from the crucible of necessity. Their social structures, too, would have been profoundly shaped by their environment. In a world of extreme scarcity and constant threat, cooperation would be key. Perhaps they developed highly communal societies where individual survival was inextricably linked to the well-being of the collective, fostering a powerful sense of unity and shared purpose. Or conversely, the immense pressure could have led to rigid hierarchies, with specialized classes of engineers, water managers, and resource distributors holding immense power, dictating the allocation of life-sustaining resources. Their culture, their myths, and their art would have been saturated with themes of resilience, the cyclical nature of water, and the poignant memory of a green world lost forever. These would be societies defined by their intimate,
often desperate relationship with their environment.
Intimately connected to the rhythms of the diminishing land and the unforgiving sky. We can speculate that their architectural adaptations would have been not just functional, but also imbued with profound cultural meaning. The act of carving a living space from rock, of creating an artificial oasis beneath the surface, would be an act of profound defiance against the forces of nature, a testament to their enduring will. These subterranean cities, if they existed, would not merely be shelters. They would be statements of will, monumental acts of resistance, monuments to a civilization's determination to persist. Their technologies might have included sophisticated climate control, perhaps even rudimentary geothermal heating or passive cooling systems utilizing the Earth's natural thermal stability. The very air they breathed, the water they drank, and the food they cultivated would have been the products of their ingenuity, a constant testament to their ability to engineer survival against overwhelming odds. And this brings us to the most radical and unsettling idea, the concept of lost civilizations existing within the Sahara's deep past, predating or entirely independent of conventionally recognized historical empires. Our current historical narrative often places the birth of complex societies in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, or ancient Egypt, dating back only a few thousand years. But the Green Sahara period stretched back tens of thousands of years, offering immense windows of opportunity for sophisticated cultures to emerge and thrive. What if these Saharan societies flourished at a time when the recognized cradles of civilization were still developing basic agriculture, or had not even begun to form? This isn't about finding a missing piece in a known puzzle. It's about discovering an entirely separate puzzle, one that rewrites the very prologue of human civilization itself. These would be true empires of dust, their names lost to the ages, their legacies buried under kilometers of sand, their existence a profound challenge to our understanding of history. Their existence would mean that human ingenuity, social complexity, and even advanced technology may have arisen multiple times in unexpected places, long before our history books record them. They would be entirely unique, shaped by the specific challenges and opportunities of their Green Sahara environment, evolving independently without influence from the civilizations we are familiar with. Their independence would be a profound revelation. It would mean that the human story is not a single linear progression, but a vast tapestry woven with many threads, some of which have been completely severed and lost to time. These lost Saharan civilizations could represent entirely distinct branches of human development with unique innovations, belief systems, and forms of governance that we have yet to even conceptualize. The implications for anthropology, archaeology, and even our understanding of human potential are staggering. It suggests that our current understanding of history is merely a partial glimpse, a few illuminated pages from a vast, ancient library, much of which remains unread, perhaps even undiscoverable, swallowed by the sands of time. The Sahara, therefore, may not just hide ruins. It may conceal entire epochs of human endeavor, grand experiments in civilization that rose, thrived, and ultimately fell beneath a different sun. The very scale of its past habitability, coupled with the immense time it has spent as a desert, provides the perfect conditions for total historical erasure. To unearth such a world would be to confront a past so ancient, so utterly separate from our own, that it would force us to redefine what it means to be civilized and where our story truly began. This profound possibility lingers, woven into the data gathered from satellites and subterranean scans, waiting to be deciphered, promising to reshape our understanding of humanity itself. The idea that the Sahara, this monumental expanse of aridity, could conceal the remnants of sophisticated societies is more than a fascinating archaeological prospect. It is a proposition fundamentally reshaping the bedrock of human understanding, challenging narratives long held sacred. If the Green Sahara's deep history conceals advanced cultures with unique technologies and intricate social structures, the implications ripple across every field of human inquiry. From anthropology to the philosophy of progress, this discovery would first and foremost compel a profound re-evaluation of human origins and the accepted timeline of early migrations out of Africa. For generations, our understanding of humanity's journey has centered on specific corridors and known periods of expansion. We trace the movements of early Homo sapiens across the continent, their eventual departure into the Near East, and their spread across the globe. These models are built upon available evidence, primarily from coastal regions or more accessible interior sites. But if Africa's heart, once a vast, fertile expanse, nurtured flourishing societies for millennia, then traditional maps of human migration become profoundly incomplete. New pathways would emerge, new centers of population, and perhaps different vectors for cultural and genetic exchange. It suggests the out of Africa story might be far more complex, potentially involving multiple waves, hidden populations, or advanced groups whose movements are invisible to our historical lens, forcing us to chart human antiquity with new coordinates. Moreover, the discovery of a truly ancient, advanced Saharan civilization would force a radical reassessment of the timeline for technological and social development. Conventional history places the rise of settled agriculture, permanent cities, and complex social hierarchies in specific regions like Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, or the Nile Delta within the last 10 millennia. These are recognized as the primary cradles of civilization. Yet the Green Sahara phases extended far earlier and endured for vast stretches of prehistoric time. If societies in this verdant heartland achieved significant technological innovation in sophisticated water management, monumental building, or advanced astronomical observation, as hinted by some early structures, then the definition of civilization itself might need fundamental expansion. It would mean advanced social organization and technological mastery did not emerge in a singular linear progression, but sprouted independently multiple times in distinct locations, with the Sahara offering a prime, yet almost forgotten, candidate. Such a revelation would not merely add a new chapter to history, it would necessitate rewriting the introduction itself, profoundly altering the canonical story of human ingenuity. The ramifications extend even further, potentially connecting these nascent Saharan cultures to global ancient mysteries that have long perplexed historians and archaeologists across the globe. Could there have been connections, however subtle, between Saharan innovations and later, seemingly independent developments in distant lands? The idea of cultural diffusion, where profound ideas and foundational technologies spread from one society to another, would take on an entirely new dimension. Imagine the subtle, yet potent influence a sophisticated, long-lived Saharan civilization might have had, not through direct conquest, but through intricate trade networks, gradual migrations, or the slow, organic spread of knowledge and spiritual concepts across the ancient world. Or conversely, what if these Saharan societies developed in complete isolation, achieving their advancements independently? This alternative would demonstrate with astonishing clarity that ingenuity and societal complexity are not the exclusive domain of a few historical regions or a single cultural lineage. Instead, it would reveal a universal human potential, capable of manifesting wherever conditions allow, given enough time and environmental stability. It would challenge the very notion of a single genesis for certain technological breakthroughs or widespread spiritual concepts, instead suggesting astonishing parallel advancements across continents, each shaped by its unique environment and formidable challenges. This would fundamentally alter our understanding of human innovation, painting a picture far richer and more diverse than previously conceived. This possibility of deep Saharan civilization fundamentally challenges and expands all conventional historical and anthropological narratives. Our current understanding of human history is a meticulously crafted mosaic built from fragments of evidence painstakingly assembled over centuries. But what if entire sections of that mosaic have been missing? Not merely small, insignificant pieces, but vast, foundational elements that alter the entire picture. The very term prehistory would take on a new, profound weight, suggesting not an era defined by a lack of history, but by a history we simply haven't yet had the capacity or tools to uncover. It would question the comfortable narratives of progress we tell ourselves, suggesting that moments of high civilization might have risen and fallen countless times, lost to the relentless march of geological shifts and climatic change, leaving only whispers in the sand. This recontextualization would compel scholars to revisit countless long-held assumptions. Was the Sahara primarily a barrier to early human migration, or was it, for significant periods, a vibrant highway facilitating movement and exchange? Did early agricultural practices emerge solely in the Fertile Crescent, or were there earlier, more sophisticated forms of food production lost to time within the deep green Sahara? Were the foundational myths and legends of North Africa, or even beyond, not mere allegories but fragmented echoes of a forgotten reality passed down through generations before being dismissed as folklore? These are not small adjustments. They are tectonic shifts in our understanding of the human story, demanding a complete paradigm overhaul. The Sahara would transition from a forgotten, empty void in our historical understanding to a dynamic, central player in the grand drama of human development, a cradle of innovation eclipsed by later, more easily preserved histories. The discovery of a hidden Saharan past would also compel us to confront the ephemeral nature of even the most advanced human societies. If a civilization could flourish for millennia within Africa's interior, only to be swallowed by a cataclysmic desertification event, then what does that say about the permanence of our own achievements, our own cities and our own digital legacies? It would imbue every ruin, every unearthed artifact, every whisper of a forgotten past with a renewed sense of urgency and profound significance. We would not just be unearthing stones, we would be recovering lost chapters of a universal human saga, a humbling reminder of nature's power. This expanded narrative would also deepen our appreciation for human resilience and adaptability in the face of monumental environmental pressures. The sheer scale of environmental transformation in the Sahara, from lush green to arid desert, represents a challenge almost unimaginable in its scope and duration. If populations, and perhaps even advanced societies, navigated such a drastic shift, either adapting to radically new niches or migrating in sophisticated, organized ways, it speaks to an enduring capacity for survival and innovation that far predates our conventionally recognized historical periods of great human achievement. The legacy of these forgotten Saharans, even if only in the form of their vanished works and the questions they raise, would echo through the ages, reminding us that the human spirit has perhaps always been more ingenious, more adaptable, and more deeply rooted in the planet's vast timelines than we have previously dared to believe. The implications ripple through the very academic structures that define our knowledge. New interdisciplinary fields might emerge, fusing deep-time paleoarchaeology with advanced remote sensing, climate modeling, and a bold, speculative historical lens. The focus of research grants, the curricula of universities, and the public's perception of ancient history would all be irrevocably altered, leading to a vibrant intellectual renaissance. The search for these hidden cities would become a quest, not just for knowledge, but for a deeper understanding of our collective identity. Who are we if our story is so much vaster, so much older, and so much more geographically dispersed than we ever imagined? Ultimately, the potential revelations from beneath the Saharan sands are not just about what existed, but about what could exist. They compel us to reconsider the eloquent silence of other seemingly empty landscapes, both on Earth and beyond, questioning whether our current understanding is limited more by our tools and ingrained assumptions than by the actual profound history of our planet. The Sahara, then, becomes a monumental teacher, its arid expanse holding not only the literal key to a lost past, but also the philosophical key to unlocking a grander, more inclusive narrative for humanity, a story that acknowledges the profound depths of time and the incredible potential for human endeavor in unexpected, long-forgotten corners of the world. It forces us to ask, what other cradles of civilization lie hidden, waiting for us to peer beneath the veil of accepted history? The answer, buried deep beneath shifting dunes, promises to redefine everything we thought we knew about ourselves. The journey to unearth the Sahara's lost legacy is not merely an academic endeavor. It is a profound testament to human curiosity, an intricate dance between cutting-edge technology and ancient landscapes. The whispers of a verdant past, once dismissed as myth, now compel an urgent, focused search. Today, a new generation of scientists and explorers, armed with tools that peel back millennia of dust, are transforming the vast emptiness into a canvas for revelation. This ongoing quest builds upon every fragment of evidence, from the subtle shifts in climate data to the tantalizing subsurface anomalies, drawing together diverse fields into a cohesive effort. Archaeological expeditions are no longer confined to surface surveys or traditional digs. They are evolving, embracing sophisticated methodologies that allow researchers to see beyond the visible, to probe the subterranean world with unparalleled precision. Interdisciplinary teams now combine the insights of paleoclimatologists, who reconstruct ancient weather patterns, with hydrogeologists, who map forgotten aquifers, and archaeologists, who seek the imprints of human ingenuity. Geophysics, with its array of sensors and imaging techniques, has become the bedrock of this new exploration, allowing for the non-invasive detection of buried features without disturbing the fragile historical record. Scientists use advanced remote sensing, digital mapping, and computational modeling to process vast amounts of data, sifting through the noise of natural geology to find the elusive signals of artificial design. The scale of this undertaking mirrors the immensity of the Sahara itself, demanding global collaboration and a relentless commitment to pushing the boundaries of what is possible to perceive from afar, or just beneath the surface. Yet, this grand undertaking is not without its own profound responsibilities. As we prepare to pierce the veil of sand and time, critical ethical questions arise. This is not merely unearthing structures. It is potentially rewriting the genesis of human achievement, a narrative that belongs to all, yet lies within a landscape with its own history and present inhabitants. The Sahara, despite its desolation, is a living entity, home to diverse ecosystems and vibrant nomadic cultures whose traditions are deeply intertwined with the land. Any exploration must navigate these sensitivities with utmost care, fostering collaboration with local communities, respecting their heritage, and ensuring that discoveries serve to enrich, not erase, existing narratives. The very act of seeking to redefine human origins within this sacred and desolate expanse demands a reverence for what may be found, for the spiritual significance of ancient pathways, and for the integrity of the land itself. Who owns these secrets once they are unveiled? How do we ensure that the pursuit of knowledge honors the past without disrupting the present or compromising the future? These are not simple questions, for the Sahara holds not only potential ruins, but also the living legacy of human resilience, a balance that must be preserved even as its deeper history is revealed. The ethical framework for planetary archaeology, usually applied to distant worlds, must now be thoughtfully adapted for our own, guiding how we treat a landscape that could suddenly become one of humanity's most sensitive and transformative historical sites. Yet, beneath these complex considerations lies a realization that vibrates with the potential to reorient our entire understanding of civilization. If the persistent whispers from beneath the desert prove true, if evidence of complex societies advance beyond what our current histories allow truly lies entombed within the Sahara's depths, then the implications would resonate across every facet of human knowledge. This would mean that the traditional cradles of civilization, the Fertile Crescent, the Nile Valley, may only be later expressions of a much older, deeper story, branches of a family tree whose roots extend far further into an ancient African heartland. It would mean our timelines for settled life, for organized labor, for technological innovation, might be fundamentally flawed, stretched back into an epoch we previously considered prehistoric in the most primitive sense. The Sahara's silence would then not be emptiness, but a profound library of forgotten millennia holding chapters we never knew existed. This profound realization challenges the very foundations of our historical narratives, forcing us to confront the possibility that humanity's ascent was not a singular, linear progression from scattered hunter-gatherers to settled communities, but a far more intricate, perhaps cyclical, journey shaped by dramatic climatic shifts and lost innovations. It would mean that vast swathes of human ingenuity and cultural evolution might have unfolded, flourished, and then vanished, leaving only the faintest echoes for us to piece together. This would not merely add a new chapter to our history, it would necessitate a complete rebinding of the book, acknowledging a hidden, epic saga beneath the sands we thought we knew. The enduring power of the unknown, however, is not just in what it reveals, but in the relentless curiosity it ignites. The Sahara, in its vast, indifferent majesty, continues to beckon, a silent challenge to our assumptions. It calls to us to look deeper, not just with instruments, but with an open mind, to consider the improbable, and to accept that our understanding of ourselves is always incomplete. The very prospect of what may lie hidden beneath those ancient dunes transforms the entire continent, indeed the entire planet, into a place of profound mystery and potential wonder. It forces us to acknowledge that our current historical lens, though vast, may yet be too narrow, filtering out entire epochs of human endeavor simply because their remnants were buried by the merciless march of desertification. This call to continue looking deeper is driven by more than just academic ambition. It is fueled by a primal human need to understand our origins, to fill the vast silences of our collective past. The impact on our perception of Earth's forgotten past would be nothing short of revolutionary, for it would not only reshape geology and archaeology, but also imbue the planet with a new, deeper sense of history, one that speaks of civilizations rising and falling, not just in distant lands, but in the very heart of the world we inhabit. The Sahara reminds us that the greatest discoveries often lie not where we expect, but where our gaze has been limited by assumption. And the search, once begun, will not cease, for the secrets it promises to unveil are too monumental to ignore, holding the potential to enrich our human story in ways we are only just beginning to grasp.